Let's go down to Santa Clara, bring in John Dickinson, 95.7 The Game's 49er Insider. Practice just ending. And what's up, JD? How you doing, man?
What's going on, fellas? Good to be with you as always. Yeah, kind of a lighter practice day coming off of the off day for the 49ers, but another pretty good day for Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold and Trey Lance. I know, Goo, you'll be happy. No reps for Brandon Allen today in the team period. It was all Brock, Sam Darnold, and Trey Lance.
Hey, Jay, I got to ask you this question because I'm looking at Steiny right now, and I'm telling him, Brock being a relatively unknown, he had a great debut. We still don't know what he is over a full season, okay? I can't take anything from him, but can you remember the last time a preseason, correct me if I'm wrong, had this much riding on it from the standpoint, forget Brock, but if this Darnold Lance thing is a thing for the number 2, and we just talked about the number 2 might be the number 1, if Brock has a setback, I'm talking myself into like 49er preseason might be like regular season drama. Does that sound off the farm?
No, it definitely matters with the battle for the 2, and I think the reason that's always front of mind is just based on the fact that they've had so many quarterback injuries throughout the years in the Kyle Shanahan era. The interesting thing to me, and where I thought you were going, Goo, I thought you were going to, have you ever had has there ever been a quarterback where he comes in and it's the second year and you don't totally know about him, but he was so good the first year, yeah. It reminded me of Jimmy Garoppolo in 2017 when they traded for him at the deadline. They were, 1-10. He ends up starting the final 5 games. Different kind of a team. Obviously, that was a very bad team. This is a team with Super Bowl aspirations, but Jimmy comes in, plays well enough for them to go 5-0 down the stretch. Then they pay him at an extremely high level, which they obviously haven't had to do yet with Brock Purdy, but you still don't know what it looks like over the course of a full season. And the Niners never really got an opportunity to even see that until 2019 because Jimmy Garoppolo wound up with the ACL injury in 2018. There is a little bit of that feeling. Look, Brock played better in his 8 games than Jimmy played in his 5 going back to 2017. There's more tape of him in this offense and playoff game wins and all of that as the Niners won the 10 in a row at the end of the regular season to go 13-4. But there is some similarities there, I think, between feeling really good about the quarterback that you have, but it's still being a relative unknown because he hasn't done it for that full season.
John Dickinson joining us on 95.7 The Game. He's down in Santa Clara covering 49ers practice. So I have a question. When we talk about the noise about the quarterback position among the fans, I know that maybe the team and the players and the coach don't care. But the one thing that I'm curious about is we have all these stats from all these 4 quarterbacks, and clearly those are the kind of stats and then the information from the writers that are stimulating the noise. Why do the 49ers let the media see that? Do they have to?
Why did the 49ers let the media see what? See practice?
Well, see as much of practice as they do where they can actually see, like, I'm just thinking of an NBA practice where we never really see the scrimmage and Curry was 11 for 15 in the scrimmage today among the team. Like, they could theoretically close it, or is there a league rule against that? Or
no,
just explain
it's
that?
An NFL mandate. It's an NFL mandate that training camp practices be open to the media, and I think part of it is the fact that you get to see such a limited portion during the regular season. During the regular season, you only get to see about 20 to 30 minutes of practice, and usually it's the warm-up. And the calendar on it, not to get wonky, but the calendar on it has changed a little bit over the years when they moved from 4 to 3 preseason games. But the calendar of it, I believe, is every practice up until the 3rd preseason game, and it may even be through the 3rd preseason game now, it has to be open completely to the media. Now, that doesn't mean you can shoot video of all of it. There's warm-up portions, the more boring portions you can shoot video for. That's the reality of it. The one-on-ones and the team 11-on-11 competition periods. You can't shoot any video for that, but it is an NFL rule and mandate that training camp practices are open. So to that point, the Niners have no control over it other than what they do win.
So real quick, how important do you think this really is within the team?
I think
these
it's important.
practices to Kyle Shanahan and stuff.
Well, no, I think they're important because they're trying to figure out who the best three quarterbacks are and really who the second and third best quarterbacks are. So that's important, I think, to figure out. As far as Brock Purdy goes, I think everybody knows, as we've talked about a lot, that he's the number one, and if something happens, then maybe they have to go in another direction down the line if it's because of injury or if Brock really struggles. 5, 6, 8 weeks into a season, if he struggles and they're not winning, maybe there needs to be a change at that point. But no, these practices are important because they have a self-stated competition as to who's going to be the two. And again, I've said this a lot. It's really more than who's going to be the two. It's who is going to be the 2 and the 3, which I think, two little things that may be nothing that came out of today. One I mentioned, no Brandon Allen reps in the team period. Now, part of that is just today was a shorter practice than normal, so there were fewer reps overall. But the other thing that I found to be interesting was that Brock Purdy came back and practiced today after 1 day off. Now, originally, Kyle Shanahan had said, hey, it's going to be 2 days on, 1 day off. Well, then he changed that because Purdy missed a day, and then they had an off day, so it was two days of throwing on, 2 days off. Well, today, given what Shanahan had said about the 2 on, 2 off, everybody expected that today was going to be an off day for Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy was out there and got 18 reps and was the best quarterback on the field during this shorter practice. But then Kyle Shanahan gets asked about it after the fact, and it's like, oh no, it's 2 days on, 1 off, and now they're back to that plan again. So might be nothing, might be something, but I think you could view that as another progression for Brock Purdy moving forward. The fact that they're back on that 2 on, 1 off type of a schedule with him practicing tomorrow, then he won't practice on Saturday, and then I guess they have an off day again on Sunday.
Jay, Steiny kind of said this last week when we were talking about Bosa and him not reporting. And this will be his first payday, but we've seen other great veteran players hold out some into this season and get their money. I'm expecting them back, but I know how you think. When does the JD radar or eyebrow go up if we don't see Bosa? Is it the next few days, the next week or two? Like there's not, for me, it's not my money. There's nothing to see here. Give this guy his chicken, but where are you at in the whole Bosa no-show so far?
Yeah, I think there's more to it than just nothing. Now, that being said, I do think they ultimately get the job done, but Bosa's not taking any kind of a discount. If Bosa wants to be the highest paid player in NFL history that's a non-quarterback, Bosa's going to be the highest paid player in NFL history that's not a quarterback. And he's not going to cave on a little bit of this, or the Niners do like to project themselves as, with contracts, the smartest, the smartest guys in the room, so to speak. They do like to, I think, make players earn it, even if they wind up getting it by sweating it out or negotiating it. Like Nick Bosa and the Bosa camp. All you got to do is look at his brother's situations. He's going to sit until he gets that number. So I think eventually this is going to be a deal where the 49ers may have to gulp a little bit more than they want to gulp, but they're also getting a defensive player of the year and a franchise-altering, defensive player, back into the fold. As far as when I'm concerned about it, John Lynch, when he met with the media Monday, he had said, you need about 3 weeks to get ready. And we're about 2 weeks away from being 3 weeks away, right? 2.5 weeks away, I think, from being 3 weeks away from the opener. And so I think right around that after the second preseason game, let's say that week after the second preseason game, before the third preseason game, if he's still not in at that point, that's when I start to think, okay, maybe to use the Steiny phrase, something is afoot at that. But it still gets done. I would want him here. I thought the Niners were a little bit annoyed that he was completely gone, as camp opened. I could just kind of sense from the press conferences that they were a little like they knew it's going to get done, but it's like, dude, show up. You don't have to practice. We'll work it out. That to me was a little bit of a tell that this thing was maybe farther away going back to when camp started than maybe people think. They still get it done because they have to get it done. And I think there's a range by which they get it done, which makes him that highest paid non-quarterback that he likely wants to be. And then it's just, does he have enough of a ramp up to get ready for the regular season? And I'd be a little worried about that too, just based on the fact that injuries are such a big part of his history.
John Dickinson joining us from Santa Clara. 49ers have finished up practice today. There's one of the things that I'm kind of intrigued with in terms of the dynamics of this season is it's clear that, the 49ers have Super Bowl aspirations. It's clear they have a lot of different weapons. And two things are also clear. One is that Brandon Aiyuk's in a contract year, and it seems like everybody's expecting Brandon Aiyuk to have a great season. Last year was his best in terms of yards. He caught for over 1,000 yards. What if among all the does it matter if among all the weapons, if Aiyuk is just one of the guys this year? You know what I mean? I mean, could that dynamic be any kind of a factor?
I think Aiyuk wants to put up numbers.
Right.
He wants to put up numbers. I think he wants to help the team win, but I think Aiyuk wants to put up numbers. I mean, we talked about this, I think, last week when I was on a little bit, in that, Deebo Samuel has gotten paid. Christian McCaffrey's been paid. Nobody's worried about him. He's going to get the most touches on the team, assuming that he's healthy. George Kittle's gotten his big contract. Would he want to be more involved in the numbers? Maybe a little bit, but he likes blocking people as much as he likes catching touchdown passes. So I do think Aiyuk is the one player that it could get a little weird if you look up, week 4, the Niners are 3-0, and Brandon Ayuk's got 10 catches in 3 weeks and 1 touchdown, and he's thinking, damn it, this is my year to go for 20 touchdowns or something like that, and really get that added payday. The Niners need Brandon Aiyuk, I think, to have a big year, and I think Brandon Aiyuk wants to have a big year. It is something that I've bookmarked to keep an eye on. It's not, is he productive just in helping them win? I'm not worried about that at all, and I don't think the 49ers, he's going to be plenty productive to help them win, but is he going to be productive enough to be happy about his future and the bank account? So I think there's a little something there to keep an eye on as far as just how it looks. Now, again, may not wind up being anything, but I do think, and this is one thing I like to do during training camp while everybody else is charting every play, I do like to kind of jot down different potential storylines, whether it's at positions or overarching things for a season, especially a season with a team like the Niners that it has the expectations that they do.
Good stuff, JD. I got to go back to Lance. I know you had brought him up, but much has been made about who he worked out with in regard to his throwing motion. But, Jay, from the naked eye, is the ball coming out different? Is the motion that different when we see him for a preseason game, Trey Lance?
I think he has worked. I think the mechanical stuff has worked. There are his throws look better. His throws look tighter. Now, today, he had an interception over the middle where either he didn't see the linebacker or he thought he could get the ball over the linebacker, threw a dart, but threw it right to the linebacker, and he was going for the for the receiver that had gotten behind the linebacker. Not a great interception today, but the ball coming out was a dart. So no, I do think you will see noticeable difference, I think, on the intermediate and on the deep throws, where he hasn't quite figured it out still, and I don't know that it's mechanics as opposed to rhythm and just knowing where the ball needs to be, but he still misses too many short throws. There's still too many of the easy layup throws in the Shanahan offense that are a little bit off. The one that's supposed to lead a running back on a rollout is behind him, or it's too high. He'll sail one. Like, those are the kinds of things that I think Kyle Shanahan probably finds pretty maddening, because those are the throws that are price of admission in his offense. Like, you can throw it 8 to 15 yards down the field, but you also have to be able to hit the short ones, because the shorter ones are how the whole offense functions. So if he can't do that, even if he can do other things and has improved at doing other things, he still may find himself behind in the competition because he's not making those short throws.
John Dickinson, our 49er insider, joining us from Santa Clara. I think I know I asked you it last week, but I actually forget your answer, so I'm going to ask you again. Who will lead the 49ers in receiving yards this year?
I can't remember the answer I gave either. Last year.
I can't. No, last week I think it was.
Yeah, or last week. No, it's between McCaffrey. It's between McCaffrey, I think, and Aiyuk. Yeah, it's between McCaffrey and Aiyuk.
Because if you look at it, they spread it out, including Kittle and Debo in there a fair amount. Like, they got 4 legit weapons.
One thing. They have 4 legit weapons, and Shanahan's going to make sure that he is able to spread it around to make sure that those throws are as easy as possible for Brock Purdy. I think there are a lot of good options if you were looking to wager on that kind of thing. But the one thing is that McCaffrey's going to get the most touches if all things are equal in terms of health and the like. One thing, just not to get off on a different tangent.
Go ahead.
But one thing that has stood out, the Niners are starting to get a little banged up, and again, it hasn't been the headliners. I've noticed at these practices, they're a lot more physical, and I know Kyle Shanahan addressed the fact that they had what he said were too many guys on the ground, basically because they were hitting and taking guys to the ground during the padded portions, and today was another one of those. But when they go 11 on 11, there really seemed to be and maybe it's just guys getting adjusted in the first couple of days of being out there, but it really seemed like guys were trying to lay that first hit on a little bit harder than I can remember in years past, almost like trying to, make sure that you're going to be physical and be felt a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to be tackling people to the ground in these types of scenarios, but just looking, Aaron Banks winds up in the concussion protocol. Elijah Mitchell's got an adductor strain now. Jalen Moore had the knee bruise that looked like it could have been something more severe yesterday. And so just something to keep an eye on, a little bit of a lighter practice today. I know they're going to go harder, I guess, tomorrow, but as far as just, it was interesting to start seeing some of the injuries pile up a little bit here, given one of those things that I had just kind of jotted down, that the physicality and the intensity of the practice had looked a half level more than I could recall from the last few years of being out here for 49ers training camp.
JD, real quick, before we let you go, you got a couple minutes here, of these kind of practices, the full padded practice, compared with the joint workouts when they work out with the Raiders, right? And then the preseason games. What percentage of importance do you think each of those represent that would add up to 100%, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the joint practices with the Raiders are really important. I think that they're more important than anything that we've seen to this point, I would say, in training camp. So when they practice tomorrow and Saturday and then take a day, come back for a couple of practices here before they go to Vegas, and those 2 practices are Thursday and Friday of next week, so a week from today and tomorrow, those 2 practices are going to be more important than anything that we will have seen up until that point. I guess at that point we're talking about a little over 2 weeks of practice. And I think that is also more important than the game, even against the Raiders. And I'm sure you'll hear Coach speak along those lines over the course of the next week. I do think the games, though, matter, especially the second and the third preseason games matter for the quarterbacks. I mean, how do these guys look in live action? And I'm talking about Darnold, and I'm talking about Trey Lance, and is Brock Purdy a part of that as well, which I think is another question that we're all going to be asking. Is he going to have to get some reps in some game action? So I still think the games are more important than the joint practices. Those last two games, I think the joint practices are more important than the general training camp practices.
Great stuff, JD. Appreciate you giving us the time from Santa Clara. Hopefully we'll talk to you again very soon. And have a good one, my man.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, that was John Dickinson. It was all sponsored by Fremont Bank, full-service banking, no compromises.